The assignment we're working on is 3-6.5, solving equations by factoring. All right, here's how you go about doing it. One of the rules that you need to know is that if you have two numbers that multiplied equals 0, then one of those two numbers has to be 0. That's called the zero factor rule. So either r minus 25 equals 0 or r plus 49 equals 0, which means r is 25 or r is negative 49. Now if you remember, this is the factored form. Remember we used our calculators to solve these, and so we would have solved this, we would have gotten r equals 25, but you can see you can go backwards to the factored form. So that's what we were doing when we were doing that, using our calculator to check our work. All right, next one. So this time we're going to have two factors that are fractions, and I'll show you how you get those. Either 10r plus 7 equals 0, subtract 7 from each side, and you get 10r equals negative 7, divide by 10. r is negative 7/10. Which remember, this is the factored form, and this is the solve form that we would get from our calculator. So remember how we did that when we had 3r minus 2 was the factor. That meant that r was 2, this is the numerator, this is the denominator, and change the sign. So negative 7/10 and 2/3. Negative 7/10 and positive 2/3. Pretty easy, right? What do you do when the equation isn't already factored? Well, one of the easiest things you can do is just enter this on your calculator, 1, negative 6, and 16, and you'll see what the two solutions are. Why don't we do it using the factoring method? B minus 8, B plus 2 equals 0, so either b minus 8 is 0 or b plus 2 is 0, which means b is 8 or b is negative 2. So we would write negative 2, comma 8 as our two solutions. Next one, pretty easy again. V plus 7, V plus 5 equals 0. You could have used your calculator. V is negative 7 or V is negative 5. Next one. The first thing you have to do is remember how we were doing that when we were entering these on our calculator. We had to make sure everything was on the same side. 2t squared minus 5t, we're going to switch the t to the other side, minus 3, switch the 3 to the other side, equals 0. Now, what two numbers multiplied equal negative 6 and are 5 apart? That would be 6 and 1, so it'll be minus 6t plus t, subtract 3, 2t squared. We're going to factor by grouping. Factor out a 2t, and we're left with t minus 3. Factor out a 1, and we're left with t minus 3. So our factored form is 2t plus 1, t minus 3, equals 0, which means t is 3, or t is negative 1/2. 3, negative 1/2. Number 6. So 4t squared minus 25t minus 21 is 0. 4 times 21 is 84. What two numbers multiplied equal 84 are 25 apart? 42 and 2, that's too far apart. Let's enter it on our calculator. I'm going to try that one. So mode 5,3, mode 5,3, okay. 4, negative 25, negative 21. And we get 7 and negative 3/4. Now, why couldn't I get those two by myself? Let's see. 7 times, what's 25 more than 7? 7. Let's try 4 and 21 adds up to 25. 4 times 21 is not 84. Oh, 7 times, how about 28? 84 divided by 28, negative 28t, and mode 1, 84 divided by 28 is 3. 3t minus 21 is 0. T squared, yep, there we go. So take a 4t out of the first ones and a 1 out of the, or 3 out of the last ones, and you're left with t minus 7, t minus 7. So that's where you get x is 7, and 4t plus 3, that's where you get 3/4. So 7 and 3/4. I wonder why I couldn't think of those by myself. 7, one of them's negative. Which one is it? Negative 3/4. All right, next one. The reason this one looks a little complicated is we have to combine terms first. 2y squared minus 7y minus 35 equals y squared minus 5y. So let's subtract y squared from each side. And let's add 5y to each side. And we get 0 is y squared plus, minus 2y minus 35. So y minus 7, y plus 5 are the two factors, which means y is 7 and y is negative 5. 7 and negative 5. Next one. Oh, this one's going to be a good one. This one is like a test question that some people get wrong, because when they factor this, 5x squared plus 10x equals 0. 5x parentheses x plus 2 equals 0 when you factor out the common denominator. So either 5x is 0, which means x is 0, or x minus x plus 2 is 0, which means x is negative 2. This is the one people ordinarily forget. 0, comma, negative 2. So the same thing here. If you factor out a 2b out of both of them, so in other words, b is 0, you are left with b minus 2, which means b is 2. Oops. B is 8, I'm sorry. B is 8. I don't know what I was thinking. All right. This one, let's factor it. Here's one that I used to get confused about. 4s squared minus 16 is 0. Let's factor out a 4, and we're left with s squared minus 4 is 0, which means s minus 4, s minus 2, s plus 2 is 0. So s is 2 or negative 2. And then I'd always ask myself, well, what about that 4? Well, remember, it has to be, one of the numbers has to be 0. Well, this one is not 0, so these 4 is not 0, so either 2 or negative 2. Remember, it has to have something in it, some letter in it that makes that you can have it be a factor. Same thing for this one. We're going to factor out a 9, and we're left with c squared minus 9 is 0, which means c minus 3, c plus 3 is 0. So our two factors are 3 and negative 3. Now, if you did this one on your calculator would give you 3 and negative 3 right away. Okay, next one. What are we going to do if we have negative 3 y squared plus 27? Well, if we factor out a negative 3, we're left with y squared minus 9, which factors into y minus 3, y plus 3 is 0. Remember, that one's not 0, so either negative 3 or y is 3 or negative 3. 3 comma negative 3. Next one. Let's get everything on the same side. Negative c squared plus 12c minus 36 is 0. Let's factor out a negative 1. So we're left with c squared minus 12c plus 36. What two numbers multiplied equal 36? C minus 6. C minus 6 is 0. So C is 6. In this case, we only have one answer, 6, but it's used twice, so that's why it's a little confusing. Now, some people think this kind looks really easy, and that's because they're forgetting that this side has to be 0. Well, the only way you can do this is to first multiply it out. X squared plus 4x minus 5 is negative 8. Now add 8 to both sides, and you have x squared plus 4x plus 3, which factors into x plus 3. X plus 1 is 0, so x is either negative 3 or negative 1. If you have any questions, give me a holler.